Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths that is based on the advanced information given to us by the exam boards. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. There are 10 squares in total, so each square is worth 1/10. And if we count all of the shaded squares, we notice that in total there are 7 shaded squares. So that's 7 lots of 1/10 or 7/10. For this question, it's really important that we understand what the words sum and product mean. Now, sum just means add, and product just means times. So we're going to start by adding the 5 and the 4, so that will equal 9. And then what we're going to do is find the product of 9 and 7, so we're going to multiply them together. 9 times 7, which is 63. So our answer is 63. The range is just the biggest number, take away the smallest number. Biggest number in this list is 15. The smallest number in this list is 3. So 15 take away 3 is 13. So the range is 13. To find if a fraction is equivalent to a quarter, you can multiply the numerator by 4 and it should match the denominator. So 1 times 4 is 4 and that matches the 4 at the bottom. So 3 times 4 for this first fraction is 12, well that doesn't match. 4 times 4 here is 16, well that doesn't match. 12 times 4 here is 48, that doesn't match. 2 times 4 is 8, so that does match. So our first answer is D. And let's see if there's a match for our last one, which hopefully there is. 8 times 4 is 32, so there is a match for our last one as well. So those are the two fractions. For this question, we're going to have to remember BIDMAS or BODMAS. So we're going to first of all look and see if we've got any brackets. Well, we do. We've got the 11 squared minus 21 in brackets, so we're going to be looking at that bit first. Inside the brackets, though, we don't have any brackets, but we do have an indice. We've got that 11 squared, so we're going to deal with that first. So 11 squared is 121. So we've got rid of the indice, but we're still looking at the bracket. So we're going to do 121 minus 21, which is going to be 100. Now we have no more brackets, no more divisions, but we do have a multiplication. So it's going to be 300, and that's our answer. Percent means per 100. So 8% is the same as 8 over 100. Now we can cancel this down because it wants it in simplest form, so we can halve top and bottom. So it becomes 4 over 50. We can actually halve it again, so it becomes 2 over 25. So the answer is 2 over 25. Median just means middle, but it's the middle of the ordered list. So the first thing we need to do is put these numbers in order. So we're going to have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. And to find the middle, what we do is we cross off the smallest and the largest, and we put our pen away. Then we do the same thing again, smallest, largest, pen away. Now, you see here that I can't cross out the smallest and largest because that will leave no numbers at all. So when you're left with 2 in the middle, all you need to do is add them together and divide by 2. So 5 plus 6 is 11. And 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. And if you look, 5.5 is exactly halfway between 5 and 6. To find the factors of 30, we're just going to write down all the factor pairs, or all the pairs of numbers that multiply together to make 30. So 1 times 30 is 30. 2 times 15, 3 times 10. Now 4 doesn't go because 30 is not in the 4 times table. 5 times 6, and we notice that if we pick 6, it's just going to be 6 times 5, it's just going to be the opposite. So the factors are all the numbers that we've just written down, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. I'm going to start just by writing down the number. And we're asked to round this to 3 significant figures. And basically what that means is starting from the left-hand side, it's 3 numbers that we want. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do our line after that third number. And you start counting the first non-zero digit. So the first digit there was 2, so we started counting. Now all the numbers to the left, or sorry, to the right, so these numbers here, will all turn to 0. But before that happens, we look at this number. Now this number, if it's 5 or more, it moves this number up by 1. If it's less than 5, that number stays the same. Now it is 5 or more, because it is 5. So it's not going to be 207, it's going to be 208. Now, a common mistake is that students write down 208. No. All the numbers to the right of that line turn to 0. So it would be 0, 0, 0. So it would be 20,000 or 208,000 exactly. I'm going to start by working out what the building is, or the width of the building is in centimetres. So it says 33 metres, and I'm going to convert that into centimetres by timesing by 100. Okay, now when it says it has a scale of 1 to 300, it means 300 in real life is 1 on our map. So all I need to do is divide it by 300 to find out what it's going to be on our map. So we'll just divide that by 300 and I get the answer of 11. So it's going to be 11 centimetres on our map. So if we just add the amount of sides each of these shapes has, a triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, hexagon 6. And notice what's happening with the number of edges. They're multiplied by 3. Each time they're multiplied by 3. So all we need to do is get the 15, multiply it by 3, which will be 45. So there will be 45 edges. When collecting terms, you've got to make sure you're collecting like terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this question out, but I'm going to use a different colour for all the things that are like terms. So we've got the 14x, we've got the 8x squared, we've got the 8x, and we've got the minus 5x squared. So the like terms are the x terms, so 14x plus, I should say 8x, plus 8x, and the x squared terms are like terms, so we've got 8x squared, take away 5x squared. So we can do 14x plus 8x, so 14 lots of x plus 8 lots of x is going to be 22 lots of x. And we can do 8x squared minus 5x squared, 8 lots of x squared, take away 5 lots of x squared is going to be 3 lots of x squared. Now typically in our answer we'll always put the x squareds first, so it becomes 3x squared plus 22x. So what we can do here is we can do 3 divided by 7 to find out what 3 is a percentage of 7, find out what that is as a decimal, which would be 0.428 blah blah blah. And then to convert a decimal into a percentage, we times by 100, so we can get that 0.428 blah blah blah, and we're going to times it by 100, and that will be 42.857, and it wants it to the nearest percent, so that's going to round to 43%. We've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether in our ratio. So we've got 51 saying yes, 7 saying no, and 13 undecided. So altogether, we've got 51 plus 7 plus 13, which is 71 parts. Now each part is equal. So to find out the value of one part, we're going to do how many students there are, which is 2,911, and divide it by the 71 to find out what one part is worth. How many students are in one part? One part's worth 41 students. So each one of those parts in the ratio is 41 students. Now yes, because it goes yes, no, undecided, yes will be the 51 there. So it's 51 lots of 41 students. 51 parts with each part representing 41 students. And when you multiply those together, you get 2091. So our answer is that 2091 students responded with yes. We're going to start off by finding what the multiplier will be. So we'll start off with 100%, and it's a decrease of 32.6%. So we're going to take that away, and that will leave the percentage as 67.4%. Next we need to convert that into a decimal. So we're going to divide it by 100, and that will make it into a multiplier. And the beauty about a multiplier is all we need to do is get the amount from the question, 486, and times it by the multiplier, and it will do all the hard work for us, and it will give us the answer of 327.56. There's a formula we use for this, and it is percentage change is equal to the amount that's changed over the original amount, and all of that times 100%. So how much has changed here? Well, we need to do 10,488 take away 10,254, so that would be 234. Divide it by the original, so the original was 10,488 because it's decreased from that amount, and then times by 100%, and so that's going to be 2.23%. So adjacent angles in a parallelogram add up to 180, and the reason for that is that we've got a set of parallel lines here, and both of these angles are within that set of parallel sides, so they're actually co-interior, interior, or allied angles, whichever you choose to call them, and so we know that they're going to add up to 180. So we're going to do 180, take away the 61 we already have there, which is 119. So our answer is 119 degrees. To find the average rate of petrol usage, which I'm just going to call rate, what we're going to do is we're going to get the distance travelled by the car, and we're going to divide that by the amount of fuel used, so the volume of the fuel used. So the distance was 135 kilometres. The volume of the fuel used was 9 litres. We do 135 divided by 9, which is 15. So it's 15, and this was in kilometres, and this was in litres. So it's going to be 15 kilometres per litre. So the only options for the next card are for them to be higher, lower, or equal to 12. We already know that the probability for it being higher is 19% and lower is 28%, and all probabilities have to add up to 1, or in this case, because it's percentages, 100%. So to work out the probability that is missing, we're going to take away the 19% and the 28% away from 100% to see what's left, and that's 53%. We're going to first of all have to convert these both into the same unit. So we've got minutes and hours. That's not going to help us much. So what I'm going to do is pick the smaller unit, which will be minutes. So I'm going to keep that 50 minutes. And I'm going to convert 3 hours into minutes. That would be 180 because we times by 60. And I'm going to just remove the minutes now. And I can first of all divide by 10, and we want to try and make it nice and simple for ourselves. So divide by 10 would be 5 to 18. And we look at it, 5 and 18, actually there's nothing further we can do with that. So the ratio would be 5 to 18. The formula for the area of a triangle is half times the base times the height. Now the base is the normally the length on the bottom, but that's not always the case. The important bit though is that the base and the height hit each other at 90 degrees. So this length here is not going to be the height because it hits the base at an acute angle. If we look, it's here. Same with the one on the left. The height is obviously going to be this length here in the middle. So let's put that into our formula. Half times the base, which is 5, times the height, which is 3. So it's going to be half times 15, and that will equal 7.5. Both the length in the diagram are centimetres, therefore the area will be centimetres squared. To answer this question, we basically need to find the lowest common multiple of the 10 minutes here and the 15 minutes here. So we're going to start off just by doing the 10 and 15 times table. So it'd be 10, 20, 30, and 15 times table with 15 and 30. So the lowest common multiple is 30. So after half an hour, these buses will sync up. They'll both leave at the same time. And all buses start service at 9 o'clock. So it will be half an hour after 9 o'clock, which will be 9:30. I'm going to write the expression given to us, but with times signs in. So it's 2 times x plus 15 times y. And it says that x is -3 and y is 4. So instead of x, we're going to replace it with a -3. And I'm just going to put it into brackets just to make things a bit easier. And instead of y, we're going to write a 4. So here we've got 2 times -3. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 3 is 6. Plus, and we've got 15 times 4, which is going to be 60. So we've got -6 plus 60. A different way of doing that is 60 minus 6 gives you the same answer, which is going to be 54. The first thing we need to do is work out what angle CBD is. So we're looking for angle CBD, and that's going to be 180 take away 170. And the reason being is it's angles on straight line. Angles on a straight line add up to 180. So that's going to be 10 degrees. So this will be 10 degrees. We then need to find out what angle CDB is. And this is obviously going to be 10 degrees as well because it's angles in an isosceles. So this will be 10 degrees, and the reason will be that it's an isosceles triangle. And to find out what x is going to be, it's going to be 180 subtract 10 plus 10. And the reason for that is it's angles in a triangle add up to 180. So that's going to be 160 degrees. Make sure you state your reasons for every step of the working out, because there's normally quite a few marks for the reasons. To see if a number's in a sequence, we get the nth term and we get it equal to the number we think is in the sequence. And if the number is in the sequence, then we'll get a integer for n. If the number's not in the sequence, then we'll get a decimal. So we're just solving this now, and we're doing 135 take away 24, which is 111. And then we're going to divide both sides by 10, and you're probably already seeing the fact that it doesn't work exactly because n is 11.1, which means that Prisha is wrong. 135 can't be in that sequence. So I'm going to write out the equation again just to give us a bit more space. And the rule we have here is if we have an x on both sides, which we do in here, we pick the smallest one to get rid of. So we've got a 12x and a 7x, and so the smaller number, or the smaller x, would be the 7x. So we're going to get rid of that first. So we've got our lines in, and we're going to take away 7x both sides. And so 12x take away 7x is 5x, and the 7x is gone, so it's just equals to 46. Then we've got the minus 4 to get rid of, so we're going to add 4 both sides. And then we've got this times 5 here, so we're going to divide 5 both sides. So we've got x equals 50 divided by 5, which is 10. To work out the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. Here they are mixed numbers, so all we do is the width times the length. Now when you multiply with fractions, always make them top heavy first, or improper, and to do that you times the big number by the bottom and add it to the top. So we're going to do 1 times 2 and add it to the top, so 3 over 2. Same with this one, 1 times the 3 at the bottom, added to the top. 1 times 3 is 3, add to the top is 5. Now we've got to get the numerator, we don't need to get the numerator the same, we're multiplying. All we do now, really easily, is just multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. So we've got to convert 15 over 6 into a mixed number because it asks for a mixed number. So 15, how many 6's go into 15? Well, we're first of all going to have 2 whole ones, and how many left over? There are going to be 3 left over. Now 3 over 6 is the same as 1/2 because we can divide top and bottom by 3. So our answer is 2.5. There's a lot going on with this question, so I'm going to start off just having a look at the total amount of money. So I'm going to do this in pence, so 2,115 pence. And if each merit point is worth 3 pence, then we can work out the amount of merit points by doing 2,115 divided by 3. So that gives us 705. So there's 705 merit points. Next, have a look at the question here, this part here, where it says James has X merit points. Sarah has 4 times as many points as James, so she's going to have 4x. Robert has 69 fewer merit points than James, so he's going to have x minus 69. And we know that that equals 705 because we've just worked that out. And this feels like a solving coming on. So we've got x plus 4x plus x, which is 6x. Minus 69 equals 705. And we're going to add 69 to both sides. So we've got 6x equals 774. Then we're going to divide 6 both sides. And so we've got x equals 129. So x equals 129. That means James has 129. Sarah has 4 times more, so she will have 516. And Robert has 69 fewer, so we're going to take 69 away from that, and that will equal 60. So we're given 21 to 4 is the ratio. We're just going to have our lines in, because what we need to do is make the left-hand side be 1. Okay? And to do that, for 21, I need to divide it by itself, divide it by 21, and we're going to do the same to the right-hand side. So 21 divided by 21 is 1. Perfect, that's what we wanted. 4 divided by 21 is 0.190, blah, blah, blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 1 to 0.19. A frequency polygon is like a line graph. In fact, it's a type of line graph. But it is when you have the data in a group. So we've got the data here as a group of 0 to 80. So there are 11 at 0 to 80. And then 18 at 80 to 160, and 6 at 160 to 240. Now, where am I going to plot this? It will involve putting a cross somewhere on this graph. And it would seem unfair if I put it all at 0, and it would also seem unfair if I put it all at 80. So what we do is we find the midpoint, the halfway point between 0 and 80, which is obviously 40, and we plot our coordinate there. So it seems to be going up in 2s, so it would be there. So that's at 40, 11, the coordinate. Our next one, we plot at the midpoint again, which would be 120, and it's just halfway between 80 and 160, and it's 18 high, so it would be up here. And then the final one is at 200, and it will be 6 high, so 200 is halfway, and we're looking at 6 high, so it will be here. Then when you're done, you need to join them up with straight lines. So I'm just going to get my ruler, join them up, perfectly straight lines, and there we are. To find average speed, we do the total distance and we divide it by the total time. Now in this question we've got a bit of an issue because the question wants kilometers per hour, but the units are given to us in meters and minutes. So we just need to do some basic conversions. So 1080 meters is going to be 1.08 kilometers because there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So all we need to do is just divide the meters by 1,000. Minutes are a little bit trickier. To get from minutes to hours, all we need to do is divide by 60. And so when you divide that by 60, you get 0.2 hours. So we're going to put the kilometers at the top, 1.08, and we're going to divide that by the hours, which is 0.2. When you do that, you get 5.4. So our answer to 2 decimal places will be 5.40. Whenever you have a one-digit number or a 1 decimal place number, but you're asked to round it to 2 decimal places, you should really put a 0 on the end, which is what we've done. So we're given a right angled triangle here, and we're asked to find length AC, which is this length here, and we're given the 2 other lengths. So we're going to be using Pythagoras. Pythagoras involves us labelling the sides A, B and C, with C being the one opposite the right angle. And we know Pythagoras is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Both A and B here are 4.9, so it'd be 4.9 squared plus 4.9 squared equals C squared. So we're going to add the 4.9 squareds together, and that will give us 48.020 blah blah blah. And here we're going to do a bit of solving. So we're going to square root both sides to find out what C is. So square root of 48.020 blah 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 is 6.929 blah blah blah. Rounded to 2 decimal places, this will be 6.93. I'm going to start by doing a multiplication grid. And we're going to be multiplying the algebra together. So we're going to do the x plus 2 at the top, and then the x and the minus 12 down the side. Multiply them together, so x times x is x squared, x times 2 is plus 2x, x times minus 12 is minus 12x, and then minus 12 times positive 2 will be minus 24. Put the terms together, and we'll notice that we've got 2x terms there. Got the 2x and we've got the minus 12x, so we can collect like terms. And so here it will add together to make minus 10x. And that's our answer. So our answer is x squared minus 10x minus 24. So we're going to start just by writing this out. So m equals 7 brackets x minus 10. And we're going to put our solving lines in. I'm going to start by expanding the brackets. And we don't need to. We could divide both sides by 7, but I think this is a bit easier. And we're going to subtract, or we're going to add 70 to both sides. So we're trying to get x as the subject. So we're trying to get x on its own. And we're next going to divide both sides by 7. So we have m plus 70, all of that over 7 equals x. So x equals m plus 70 over 7. There are two rules for things to be in direct proportion. The first rule is you must have a straight line, which we do on this question. The second rule is it must go through the origin. So we're looking for a line like this or like that, somewhere in that region there. Now, this red line does not go through the origin, so A and B cannot be in direct proportion. To find out what the value of x is, we first of all have to find out what the value of y is. And we can notice that we've got two sets of parallel lines here, and a line going through them. And we kind of got these f angles, which we have to call corresponding angles. So we know that 2y minus 50 is equal to 78. And we must write down the reason, so corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are equal. Now here we've got an equation and we want to solve it, so we get our lines in. We'll go first of all add 50 to both sides. So we've got 2y equals 78 plus 50, which would be 128. And then we're going to halve both sides, or divide by 2. So we've got 64. So we know that y is 64. And so we look back at the diagram to find out how we'd work out x. Well, what we can do, there's a few different things we can do. We could work out the fact that these two here are vertically opposite. That would be absolutely fine. But actually, if we look at this part here and this part here, these are also two parallel lines, and we've got this angle here and this angle are going to be alternate. So I can write that down here. So angle ECB is equal to 78 degrees. So this will be 78 degrees. And the reason for that is alternate angles. And then finally, if we know this is 78 and we know that this is 64, because we know what y is, then we can work out what x is. So x equals 180, angles in a triangle, take away the 78 we know and the 64 we know. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And just make sure you write down all the reasons as you go. And when we take away the 78 and the 64 from 180, you get 38. So x is therefore 38 degrees. Whenever you have north lines, they will always be parallel. So what we have here is we have a straight line going through two parallel lines, which are our two north lines. And therefore this angle here is going to equal this angle here. And the reason for that is that the two angles are alternate, they're z angles. So we can say that that is 135, and I always like to try and show the examiner the reasons. So that's because it's alternate angles. And we know also that angles on a point add up to 360. So this red angle represents the bearing of A from B. And so to find this angle out, what we're going to do is just 360 take away 135. And the reason for that is angles on a point equal 360 degrees. And when we work that out, we get the answer of 225. So our bearing is 225 degrees. The first thing we need to do is work out the area of the floor, and you'll notice that this is a trapezium. So with a trapezium, the formula is half a plus b times h, and a and b are the parallel sides, so these ones are the parallel sides, and the height is the one connecting the two bases, the two parallel sides. So we're going to start off by writing down the formula, so it'd be half a plus b h, so half times 2.8 plus 1.2 times 11. And when we do that, we get 22. So the area of the floor is 22 meters squared. And it says here that the tiles are sold in packs which cover 3 meters squared. So if each pack covers 3 meters squared, we're going to do 22 divided by 3, which will be 7.33 packs that we need. Now obviously you can't get 0.3 of a pack or 0.33 of a pack, so we're going to have to get 8 packs and just have some left over. So we'll need 8 packs in total. Okay, next thing we look at is the fact that the Jenny has a 25% discount. So we need to find out what 25% discount would do to the £18.60 for the tiles, or for the pack of tiles. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get the £18.60 and we're going to times it by 0.75. So we're just going to find 3/4 of it because she has a 25% discount, and that would be 1,395. So that's the tiles are going to cost £13.95. Now I've done this in pence and I've kind of muddled it together here, so really let's just go back because I've kind of done this in pence. So that would be 1,860 times 0.75, and so each pack will cost 1,395, and the reason we're doing this in pence is the answer needs to be given in pence, so I might as well just make that conversion now. And so it's going to be 8 lots of the 1,395 pence packs, which will cost in total 11,160 pence, or £111.60. But Jenny has £100 to spend, and we're asked how much extra does she need. So we're going to do the 11,160, take away the 10,000 pence that she has, which will give us 1,160 pence. So she needs to find £11.60 or 1,160 pence from somewhere. It doesn't look like it, but we actually have a quadratic here, and the reason it doesn't look like it is because we don't have an x term, but as long as we have an x squared term and a number term, we definitely have a quadratic. And notice something about this second number. It's a negative version of a square number, and that will always be the case because this question is using something called difference of two squareds. And it's very, very simple to work out. What you do is you put down 2 sets of brackets and you square root the first term, well that's just going to be x, and you put the positive and negative versions of the square root. So we're going to square root 121, which is 11, so we're going to put plus 11 and minus 11, and that's it. Now when we expand that, and we'll just go quickly expand that now to have a look, it's going to be x squared plus 11x minus 11x minus 121, and notice that the 2x terms cancel each other out, which is why we don't have the x terms. So what's happened here is that the company's increased the amount of sweets by 15%. So we're just going to focus on that and work out what the multiplier would be first. So they started off with 100% and they added 15%, and then therefore they ended up with 115%. And to find that as a multiplier, we get the 115 and divide it by 100, and that gives us 1.15. So that is the multiplier they used. Now they used that multiplier on the original amount, and they times it by 1.15, and they got the answer of 69. But if we're working the other way to find out what they times by 1.15, we get that 69 and we divide it by the multiplier. So if we want to work out what the original number was, we divide it by the multiplier, and that gives us 60. So the answer will be 60. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.